Alright guys, so we're going to go over the solubility graph examples problems so that they can help you on assignment 5.3. So what we need to remember for the solubility graph is that unsaturated solutions are below the line. Saturated solutions are going to be on the line. And then we have supersaturated solutions, which are going to be above the line. Okay, so this will make more sense in just a second. So let's go ahead and do this first example problem. First we're going to read the question and then we'll work on our graph to figure out our answer. If we had 60 grams of KNO3 solution at 50 degrees Celsius, would the solution be unsaturated, saturated, or supersaturated? So let's figure out this problem. First I know that I need to plot my point. So I have 60 grams and 50 degrees. So my grams are going to be on this vertical axis right here, okay? My degrees are on this bottom axis. So 60 grams is right here, 50 degrees is right here. So those two will meet up right about here, okay? And now I like to highlight my line that I'm looking for. So I'm looking for KNO3, and that line is right here. That's my KNO3 line. Okay, so now this is whenever we want to talk about below, on, or above. And what I do is I reference my dot compared to my line. So my dot is below my line. So I am going to look at an unsaturated solution. Okay, so my answer to this one would be unsaturated. I misspelled unsaturated, but that's okay. Because my dot is below my line. Okay, if I do my next example, we're going to do it the exact same way. I have a question here, 40 grams of NaCl at 80 degrees Celsius. Saturated, unsaturated, saturated, or supersaturated. Let's go ahead and figure this out. So first I'm going to plot my point. Alright, so plot point is going to be what we want to do first. 40 grams, grams are over here on the left, so there's 40, 80 degrees. So those two meet right here. Okay, now I'm going to go and highlight NaCl. NaCl runs through there. Okay, so now I answer the question, is it unsaturated, saturated, or supersaturated? Okay, so unsaturated we said was below the line. Saturated is on, supersaturated is above. My dot runs right through my highlighted line, so this is going to be a saturated solution. My answer is going to be saturated. Okay? So that's one type of question that these graphs can ask us. This next one is a different type of question that can be asked of us. A different way to look at our graph. Okay, it's the exact same graph, just a different question regarding it. It says, which compound is least soluble at 10 degrees Celsius? Okay, so this tells me what to do. I want to find 10 degrees and then find the first line that crosses at 10 degrees. So here's 10 degrees. I go up. This is my first line that crosses right here. KClO3. So my answer is going to be KClO3. Okay, and that's just because this is telling me that KClO3 can only dissolve 5 grams at 10 degrees Celsius. If I wanted to find the highest solubility at 10 degrees, I'm going to go to this top line, Ki. Okay, that would be the highest, most soluble at 10 degrees. So that's a different type of question that can get asked. Another type of question are ones like on this page, where it's asking me how many grams of NaCl can be dissolved in 100 grams of water at 90 degrees. Ignore 100 grams of water. Every time you see 100 grams of water, you want to ignore it. Okay? So now, back to my question. How many grams of NaCl can be dissolved in 90 degrees Celsius? Okay. So what I want to figure out here is, it's basically asking, where does NaCl cross at 90 degrees? That's the same thing as that. Okay? So, here's 90 degrees. And NaCl, remember, is this line right here. NaCl. Here's my 90 degrees. So it crosses right here at 40 grams. So that would be my answer there. Okay, so when it's asking about how much can be dissolved, it's just where that line crosses at that temperature. Okay, this is another type of the same question. So let's do the same thing we did here. Ignore 100 grams of water. So at 40 degrees, how much KNO3 can be dissolved? So once again, it is asking, where does KNO3 cross at 40 degrees? Okay, that's the same question that we're trying to find out. So KNO3 is this line right here. Now I'm at 40 degrees. And it crosses right here, not on the 60, a little bit above it. So I'm going to say 62 grams. All right. So those are the same type of question using the same graph. Okay. Last two questions using the same exact graph we have been. This one is kind of a throwback to our first questions. It's wanting to know at 60 degrees Celsius, 72 grams of NH4Cl is dissolved in 100 grams of water. Ignore 100 grams of water. Is the solution saturated or unsaturated? Okay, we'll find out in a second that I made a typo up here. So 60 degrees, 72 grams NH4Cl. I'm going to plot my point. 60 degrees, degrees are on the bottom. 72 grams, grams are on the side. So if I go and plot those, 60, 72, there's my point. Now my line is NH4Cl, just like that. Okay, so now I answer the question, is it saturated or unsaturated? Well, if I look at my dot, it's above my line. So my answer is actually going to be super saturated. Super saturated because my dot is above my line. Okay, I always think that super is like flying over the city like Superman. So my dot's going to fly over my line for a super saturated solution. Okay, now this question is probably one of the harder questions you will ever get about this graph. All right, so let's break it down and see what we can do. For each of the following solutions, explain how much of the solute will dissolve and how much will remain undissolved. Okay, so there's two parts. How much will dissolve, how much will be undissolved. We have 120 grams of KCl at 80 degrees Celsius. Okay, 120 grams, 80 degrees. And I am talking about KCl. So let me go ahead, figure out what line I'm talking about. Okay, so to answer this first part, how much will dissolve, wherever my line crosses is how much will dissolve. So at 80 degrees, my line crosses at 50 grams. Okay, so 50 grams will dissolve because that's where my line crosses. But I started with 120. Okay, so to figure out how much is remaining, I got to do 120 minus 50 gives me 70. So 70 grams will not dissolve. And that's one of the most difficult questions you will get, but that would be my answer. Okay, use these to help you on assignment 5.3. Okay, that's what this video is here for, is to help you on 5.3.